Yes, the Nintendo Switch 2 is selling like hotcakes. Units are literally flying off the shelves. People are excited for the new hardware, and in terms of sheer interest, Nintendo's riding high. But here's the twist. Apparently nobody's buying third-party games, and that's not just an opinion, that's actual sales data. So what's going on? Why are people spending hundreds on the new console but leaving shelves full of launch games untouched? Well, it's because of game card keys. Let's dig into it. According to a recent industry report making the rounds, several third-party publishers are seriously disappointed in their launch performance on the Switch 2. One insider even said their numbers were below their lowest estimates. That's a brutal statement, especially when the hardware itself is selling out. This is a big red flag. When your audience is buying your console but not your games, developers take note. That's how you start seeing games skip platforms entirely. Remember the Wii U era? It started off strong with third-party games, and then they all but vanished, except like the heavy hidden companies like Capcom and so forth. The Wii U didn't get supported by third-party as strong as it should have been, and that's because third-party sales were weak on it at launch. But let's be honest here, guys. It's no surprise. As soon as we saw all those game key cards being made and most of the third-party games for the Nintendo Switch 2 were game key cards, a lot of people were like, nope, we're not buying it. I hope these people are smart enough to realize that they messed up. But we all know how corporations work. They're going to do the math, and then they're going to be like, well, why even bother to put our games on the Switch 2 if nobody buys it? That's how it is. The gamers are always the ones at fault. A big chunk of the Switch 2's launch library, though, was older games that we've already played, sometimes even years ago, on better platforms. I mean, we're talking about titles like Yakuza 0, played that on Xbox Series X like 2 years ago. Street Fighter 6, played that on Xbox Series X a couple years ago. Sonic Frontiers, played that several years ago. I mean, they're all great games. You got Cyberpunk on top of that. But these aren't new games. This is stuff that we've already been there and done that on. These are ports of titles that already exist on PlayStation, Xbox, PC, consoles, and platforms that are a lot better than what the Switch 2 is offering. I love the Switch 2. I'm having fun with it. But Cyberpunk, I played that eons ago on a better platform. Sure, the Switch 2's portable, but why are we going to be paying more? Publishers are literally slapping $60 or $70 price tags on these ports, and they're expecting us to just consume, but it's not happening. Because I can go and get Cyberpunk on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox for probably less than half of that. Like a $20, $30 price point instead of $70, right? But that's only half the story of what's going on here, guys. The game key cards. Nintendo's latest attempt at making physical games that are not really physical. That's literally what it comes down to. Here's how it works, okay? You buy a game in a box, you open it up, and inside's a Switch cartridge that doesn't actually contain the game. It's just a license key that prompts you to download the whole thing. It's pretty much like buying a chocolate bar and finding out the wrapper's empty with a coupon to go get chocolate from the internet. I mean, that's it. And fans hate it. But what's funny is you see a lot of, I guess, Nintendo diehards trying to say, well, the Xbox and PlayStation already do this. Why are you guys upset? Because Xbox and PlayStation, they're not price gouging most of their third-party games. It's the price point that's getting the backlash, guys. It's not worth it. It's not worth it to pay for game key cards for older games, such as the ones I listed, that I can get on Game Pass, I can get on PlayStation Plus, I can get for $20 or less. Why are we spending $70 for game keys? These companies need to realize that people don't want it. People hate it, guys. If you scroll through any Nintendo subreddit or any collector's forum, people aren't stupid. They know this is the publishers cutting corners. 110%. Because there's only one cartridge size, a 64 gigabyte cartridge. And people aren't going to pay money for a 64 gigabyte cartridge if their game is way less than that. If it's substantially less than that, they're going to cut corners. And on Switch 2 right now, only 4 out of the 26 physical launch games are actually playable straight out of the cartridge. Everything else is a fake plastic placeholder. And I see people trying to shame and cope about this and kind of be snarky and sassy towards gamers. I saw a tweet that was like, say what you want about it, but eventually you're going to buy a game key card. No, I'm not. I would rather get digital than a game key card. Hands down. Because there's no point in having that game key card. It's the same thing as a digital game. And if you buy game key cards, you're showing these publishers, these corporations, that they can get away with whatever they want. I've already accepted the digital age years ago, console generations ago, and that's how I got Hogwarts Legacy. That's how I got Rune Factory. That's how I'm going to be getting other games. Is I would just rather buy a whole bunch of eShop cards and get it digitally because it's not going to be real physical media. And if we buy that form of physical media, then we're never going to get an actual cartridge ever again that has the game on it. Okay, and this has become a problem, honestly, that many diehard collectors are refusing. They don't want to buy game key card titles altogether, myself included. And based on this report, right, that refusal is clearly showing up in the sales charts. Now, interestingly enough, there is one third-party game that is a huge success story on the Switch 2. It is Cyberpunk 2077. And I actually bought that. I bought that game, even though it was way more overpriced than what I could get on Xbox, which I already own. But I support it because it's actually on the cartridge. There's no downloads. Sure, you get like an update patch, but the game is on there. There's no fake outs. You pop it on and it plays, right? It's almost like people just want to buy a game and play it. Shocking. Yeah, shocking, guys. I know. So yeah, the number one best-selling third-party game on the Switch 2 is the one that treated fans with respect. It's almost like that means something still, this day and age, right? Respect the consumer. And the backlash, honestly, just isn't about key cards, okay? It's about what they represent. Like I was saying, it's laziness, it's greed. Publishers have openly admitted that it cost them around $4 to ship a key card versus the 15 that it takes to press an actual cartridge. And since these are ports of games that are already, I guess, old, they've already made their money, they're just trying to cut costs wherever they can. The problem is they're cutting corners at the expense of fan trust. And once you lose the trust of your fans and your consumers, it's done. Switch fans aren't the same as Xbox, PlayStation, or PC players, okay? On Xbox, physical games are practically dead at this point because of Game Pass. On PC, everything's digital. PlayStation, they still are struggling out there, but you'll see the occasional physical release. For the most part, they're also going digital, right? But Nintendo has always had this loyal base of collectors. Like, look behind me right there. That's NES games. That's Nintendo. I have Mario Kart World physical here. They want that cartridge. They want that shelf appeal. That's just how Nintendo fans are, right? And with this game key situation, you're disrespecting that at your own risk, okay? And this is as the result of it. This whole report of third-party sales being lower than expected, lower than their estimates that were already conservative. So I'm not saying the Switch 2 is a failure. People like to put that word or that sentence in my mouth. It's far from it. The hardware is great. I'm having a great time with it. The games that are actually working are fun. Mario Kart World, like I pointed out, is a freaking banger, and it's selling insanely well. And that's all we can ask for is a fun game that could occupy us and entertain us and actually have an option to have it physically and be fully on the cartridge like it is, right? What I'm saying is that the third-party publishers need to wake up. People aren't going to pay premium prices for games they already own on Xbox, PlayStation, PC, especially when these games are locked behind a download. And it's a download key that's disguised as a cartridge. If you want to start your game on Switch, guys, here's the secret formula. Step 1, put the game on a cartridge. Step 2, price it fairly. And 3, don't treat your customers like idiots. So, at the end of the day, Nintendo fans, all of us, myself included, we're hungry for new experiences. A lot of these games that just came out weren't on the Switch OG. They didn't buy a Switch 2 just to replay old games, though, in slightly better resolution. Like, okay, cool, we got a better screen, right? They want new worlds. They want new stories, new adventures, new experiences. They want to own the game they paid for on top of that, guys. But until publishers figure it out, we're going to keep seeing reports like this. Like, oh, third-party games are not selling, right? We're going to see that. And then there's going to be a whole bunch of weak software numbers, but strong console numbers. It's almost like what happened with previous console generations before the Switch, right? And then you're going to have all these developers, oh, what went wrong? What went wrong? Oh, the gamers aren't supporting it. It's always going to be the gamers that are to blame, guys. But if this didn't wake them up, I don't think anything will. So what are your thoughts, guys, on game keys? This is something that I'm going to complain and bitch about often, all right? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to hit like or dislike on this video. Leave a comment, all that. Subscribe. I'll see you on the next one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out.